To all those people watching, I'd like to remind everyone that this video is not made for kids. It's for older fans and adults. Enjoy the fucking video! Thomas the tank engine loves working on the railway, but sometimes he often thought what lies beyond the railway line and how different the world looks away from it all. Even beyond Earth. Do you reckon, he asked the engines one day, that engines can travel beyond the Earth? The other engines thought he was being very silly. It would be nice, sighed Thomas. One day the fat controller came to see him in the yard.
Thomas, there's going to be a space fair at the big park today, and I want you to take the children.
A space fair? Gasped Thomas happily. Oh, thank you, sir. At last, a chance to go to space.
You're just being silly. It's not really space, Thomas, grumbled Gordon. They are just going to be models of all the planets and ships to give the idea of space.
But Thomas just ignored him and he puffed excitedly away to collect the children at Knapford Station. The children all talked at once. They were all excited about the space fair as well. I love everything about space. I can't wait to go there. The children laughed. Thomas in space? Whatever next? When the children were on board, Thomas puffed away to the big park. But when he arrived, he saw the space fair and was sad. They're just models, he groaned. Of course they are, Thomas, chuckled the driver. I wish it was actual space. Gordon was right. I was being silly. Later, a tour guide came towards him. Why are you sad? She asked. Then Thomas explained everything. The tour guide laughed. I think it's quite impossible to send an engine to space, she said. But I could show you space. Just not in the way you're thinking of. Thomas was puzzled. He was uncoupled from Annie and Clarabelle, and he puffed into the big park. Thomas was amazed by the sight of the exhibit. There were some telescopes, a life-sized model of a rocket ship, and models of the planets that make up the solar system. In the middle was the planet Earth. Thomas stopped to have a look. He could see the children marveling at it. See if you can find the island of Sodor, he called out in excitement. So they did. They looked everywhere, until at last one called out, I found it! Everyone laughed and cheered. The guide was having some fun as well and showed Thomas and all the children the life-size models of all the planets. This here is the planet Jupiter. It is the largest planet in our solar system, she explained. It's bigger than all the planets put together. All the children and Thomas were amazed. What's the smallest planet? Thomas asked. The smallest planet is Mercury, Thomas. If we live there, the sky is always black. They saw all the other model planets and the guide talked more about space. You know, if you could ride Thomas to the sun, she said, it would take almost 200 years to get there. 200 years? Gasped Thomas. My coal and water wouldn't last that long. I would be out of it by then. Soon it was time for lunch, and while the children were having a picnic, Thomas was parked in the middle of the big park. The guide then explained, We're going to have a little activity about how all the planets travel around the sun, Thomas, she said. So I want you to be the sun. Yes, Mom, he peeped. After the picnic, the children all huddled around Thomas as the various planets in the solar system, and she asked them to rotate around Thomas. The children all laughed while learning how it all worked. So did Thomas. After the demonstration, Thomas and the children all agreed that they had learnt a lot about how the solar system works. They saw the rest of the fair, and the most amazing sight of all, a moon rock, they gasped. After that, it was time for the children to head for home. Before he left, the tour guide came towards him. I'm sure you had an enjoyable day, Thomas, she asked. Indeed I did, Mom, replied Thomas happily. It's not possible for me to go to space, but today I felt like that I was. Thank you for today, Mom. And when he returned to the shed that night, he began to dream about what it's like to be in space.